On April 10th, in Dimmitt, Texas, a massive explosion ripped through the South Fork dairy farm. In a matter of minutes, 18,000 dairy cows were incinerated. It was the deadliest barn fire in recorded history. The mainstream media called it a tragedy and moved on. But just a few days later, a massive fire destroyed a major food processing plant in Minnesota, then another in Oregon, then another in Quebec. If these were isolated incidents, we could write them off as industrial mishaps. But when you pull the data, when you actually plot these incidents on a timeline, a terrifying pattern emerges. In the last 24 months, over 96 major food processing facilities, distribution centers, and commercial farms across the United States and Europe have been destroyed by sudden, unexplained fires or explosions. Ask yourself, what are the odds? In an era where fire safety technology is more advanced than ever, why is the infrastructure of our food supply spontaneously combusting at a rate we have never seen before? And why is it happening exactly when global food inventories are at their lowest levels in a decade? But the destruction isn't just happening through fire, it is happening through policy. Look at what is happening to the farmers. While you are paying $7 for a carton of eggs and $8 for a gallon of milk, American farmers are being forced to pour thousands of gallons of fresh milk down the drain. They're being forced to euthanize millions of healthy chickens. They're plowing fresh vegetables back into the dirt. This defies every law of economics. Basic economics 101. When demand is high and supply is low, you sell everything you have. You don't destroy it. No rational business owner destroys their own product during a shortage unless they are being forced to, or unless they are being paid more to destroy it than to sell it. This is not inflation. Inflation is when money loses value. What we are witnessing is supply destruction. It is a calculated, engineered removal of calories from the global market. I have spent the last week tracking the ownership of the farms that are closing and the facilities that are burning. I have analyzed the new sustainability laws that are forcing Dutch farmers off their land and the new water rights restrictions that are drying out the American West. When you connect these dots, you don't get a picture of incompetence. You get a picture of a silent war. The target of this war is not a foreign nation. The target is the independent food supply. The goal is not to starve you, at least not yet. The goal is to consolidate control. They are dismantling the independent farm system to replace it with a centralized, corporate-controlled, and patent-protected food grid. In this video, I'm going to show you the evidence that the media ignores. I will show you why 3,000 US farms just closed their doors quietly. I will show you the feed additive that is mysteriously stopping hens from laying eggs. And I will explain why the empty shelf at your local Walmart is not a supply chain error. It is the new plan. Let us zoom in on the one item that hit every single American family the hardest this year: eggs. We were told that the price of a dozen eggs tripled because of the avian flu. The official narrative was simple. Birds got sick, so we had to kill them to stop the spread. But when you look at the Department of Agriculture's own data, the numbers don't add up. Yes, 50 million chickens were culled, but the vast majority of them were not sick. They were killed preemptively because of a single positive PCR test within a certain radius of the facility. Does that protocol sound familiar? It is the exact same contact tracing logic applied to the food supply. They wiped out millions of healthy, laying hens based on a computerized risk model, not actual sickness. But it gets darker. While the big commercial facilities were culling their flocks, thousands of backyard chicken farmers started noticing something strange. Their hens simply stopped laying eggs. These were healthy birds, young birds, yet production dropped to zero. Then, a few brave farmers decided to run an experiment. They stopped buying the commercial feed sold at Tractor Supply and major retailers. Feed, that is produced by a handful of global conglomerates. They switched to local, organic grain. Within 48 hours, the hens started laying again. This wasn't a virus, it was the feed. Social media was flooded with these videos, but they were quickly suppressed. If the commercial feed supply was altered, whether intentionally to lower production or through gross negligence, it creates an artificial shortage that drives prices through the roof. It forces the small, independent farmer out of business because they can't afford to feed non-productive animals, leaving the market wide open for the mega corporations. And this brings us to the second front of this war, the green agenda. Look at what is happening in the Netherlands. The Dutch government, following mandates from the World Economic Forum, announced plans to seize 3,000 privately owned farms. The justification? Nitrogen pollution. They are telling farmers, the people who feed the world, that their fertilizer and their cows are destroying the planet. But notice, the solution is never innovation. The solution is always liquidation. They are forcing multi-generational farmers off their land. And do not think for a second that this is just a European problem. The U.S. Special Presidential Envoy for Climate has already signaled that American agriculture needs a massive transformation. The EPA is quietly redrawing water maps in the Midwest. They are using WOTUS, waters of the United States, regulations to restrict what farmers can do on their own private property. If a farmer can't use his pond or can't use nitrogen fertilizer because of new carbon caps, his yield collapses, he goes bankrupt. And who is waiting to buy the land when the small farmer goes under? This is the most terrifying part of the puzzle. The largest owner of private farmland in the United States is no longer a farmer. It is Bill Gates. He, along with massive hedge funds like BlackRock and Vanguard, are buying up millions of acres of prime agricultural real estate. They aren't buying it to grow more corn. They are buying it to control the asset class. When you control the land, and you control the seeds, and you control the fertilizer, you control the population. They are turning farming from a decentralized, independent way of life into a centralized, corporate-owned utility. And if you don't subscribe to their new system, you don't eat. Now we arrive at the most critical question. Why? Why would any government knowingly dismantle its own food security? Why burn the farms, cull the herds, and restrict the water? The answer is simple, and it is terrifying. You cannot patent a cow. You see, nature is open source. Anyone with a male and female cow can create a third cow. Anyone with a handful of heirloom seeds can grow a crop. Nature allows for independence. And in a system designed for total control, independence is a bug that needs to be fixed. While independent cattle ranchers are being regulated into bankruptcy, a new type of farm is rising. On June 21st, 2023, the USDA fully approved the sale of cell-cultivated chicken in the United States. Two companies, Upside Foods and Good Meat, were given the green light to put lab-grown meat on your dinner table. They call it ethical meat. But let's look at the science they bury in the fine print. To make meat grow in a steel vat without an animal, you need cells that divide rapidly and infinitely. In biology, there's a specific name for cells that refuse to die and multiply aggressively: cancer. They use immortalized cell lines to create this sludge. And who are the biggest investors in these fake meat companies? The same names buying the farmland? The same names pushing the climate agenda? They are destroying the competition, traditional farming, to force you into their new patented ecosystem. But it gets worse. While real chicken plants are burning down, massive insect protein factories are being built up. In Canada, the world's largest cricket processing plant just opened. They are grinding billions of crickets into a fine flour to be added to chips, protein bars, and pasta. Why? Because they can control the supply chain of a factory. They can turn the dial up or down. They can patent the genetic modifications of the insects. And for the real animals that are left, they are changing them from the inside out. Lobbyists are currently pushing hard to introduce mRNA vaccines into the livestock supply chain. The National Cattlemen's Beef Association has confirmed that research is underway to use mRNA technology in cattle. If this becomes the standard, your steak is no longer just food. It becomes a pharmaceutical product. There is no informed consent when the vaccine is in the milk you drink and the burger you eat. This is the great reset of food. The goal is to move the human population away from a nutrient-dense, natural diet that makes you strong and independent, and onto a synthetic, highly processed, corporate-controlled diet that keeps you weak, sick, and dependent. They are creating a problem, starvation, high prices, so they can sell you their solution: lab meat, bugs. It is the classic Hegelian dialectic: problem, reaction, solution. And we are currently living through the reaction phase. The panic is being engineered so that when the fake meat hits the shelves at half the price of real beef, you will thank them for saving you. So, what is the solution? If the processing plants are burning, the regulations are tightening, and the corporate giants are poisoning the well, how do you survive? The answer lies in one simple concept: decentralization. The only way to win a rigged game is to stop playing by their rules. You need to build your own supply chain that operates outside of their control grid. This starts with a shift in mindset. You need to stop looking at food as a consumable and start looking at it as an asset. A bag of rice in your pantry has a better return on investment than $1 in your savings account. The dollar is losing 10% of its purchasing power every year. The rice is gaining value as calories become scarce. Step 1, secure your deep pantry. Do not rely on the just-in-time delivery system of the grocery store. That system is designed to break. You need at least 3 months of shelf-stable calories stored in your home. I'm talking about the basics: rice, beans, honey, salt, and canned meat. This isn't hoarding, this is insurance. When the next crisis hits and the shelves go bare, you won't be the one fighting over the last loaf of bread. You will be safe at home. Step 2, shake the hand that feeds you. You must cut out the middleman. Stop giving your money to Tyson, Nestle, and Walmart. Go to your local farmer's market. Find a local cattle rancher and buy a quarter cow directly. Find a local chicken farmer and set up a weekly egg delivery. When you buy directly from a neighbor, you are starving the corporate beast and strengthening your local community. A local supply chain is harder to break than a global one. Step 3, become a producer. During World War II, Americans planted victory gardens to ensure the nation didn't starve. We need to bring that spirit back. You don't need 100 acres. You can grow potatoes in a 5-gallon bucket on a balcony. You can raise quail in a garage. Every calorie you produce yourself is a calorie they cannot tax, track, or take away. Growing your own food is no longer just a hobby. It is a revolutionary act of defiance. Step 4. The community defense. You cannot survive this alone. The lone wolf dies, the pack survives. Talk to your neighbors. Who knows how to garden? Who knows how to purify water? Who has medical skills? Build a network now before the internet goes down or the panic sets in. The war on food is real, and it is accelerating. They want you dependent. They want you weak. They want you lining up for their cricket flour and their lab-grown sludge because you have no other choice. But you do have a choice. You can choose to be independent. You can choose to be prepared. The system is fragile, but you don't have to be. The farms may be burning, but the seeds of resistance are in your hands. Plant them, water them, and protect them. Because in a world of artificial scarcity, being self-sufficient is the most dangerous thing you can be. This is the gray ledger. We don't just track the money, we track the survival of the free world. If you want to know which banks are likely to fail next as this crisis deepens, watch this video right here. I'll see you on the other side.